All right, well, everybody, welcome. An early happy Father's Day to everybody. Glad you guys could join us tonight for this discussion. And so we'll just start off with some introductions. And for me, my name is Wayne Martin. I am, as you guys all know, Travis Martin. I'm his dad. And Travis is 28 years old, and which coincides with his transplant of about 28 years ago. And so he's a heart transplant recipient. I have actually recently relocated and retired to North Carolina. So I'm kind of experiencing a new facet here. And Travis was able to come out and visit recently. But anyway, we'd just like to give everyone a chance to introduce. Many of you guys know each other. And I think one or two of you guys back from my Stars days back in San Antonio many years ago. So we'll start. Ricardo, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Ricardo Rivera, and my son is Ricky Jr., and he's 24 years old, and he's had 2 heart transplants.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you. Let's go to John.
Hi, I'm John Pena. My daughter is Mara. She's 18, almost 19, and she is a kidney recipient. And she's had it it'll be 3 years. Actually, it was the day after her birthday. So this September, it'll be 3 years since her transplant. And she just graduated from high school, and she'll be starting college soon. So she's going through the whole transition right now.
Very good. That's a big transition, whether you're dealing with a transplant or not. So that's all right. Very good. Thank you, John. Let's go to Joseph.
Oh, I'm Joseph. My daughter's Isabella. She received her kidney when she was 2 years old. I was her donor. She's had the kidney for 11 years now. She's 13. She'll be 14 October. And she's really healthy, and she's strived a long ways. She's come a long ways from that.
Excellent. Great to hear.
Thank you.
So Felix?
Yes, I'm Felix Nerio, the father of Ashley Nerio. She's a kidney transplant recipient, and we just celebrated 1 year of her 3rd kidney transplant. So we've gone through this, and for quite some. She's going to be 37. I can't believe it. 27 years old. I'm sorry, 37, 27.
27.
And we've been around just as long as Travis has. Been way back. But she's doing good, and we're all together still here, and see what becomes of everything. 1 year of her 3rd transplant. She's doing good.
Excellent. All right. So Ray?
Hi. Hey, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Ray Villegas. I am a father of a heart transplant daughter, Evangelina. She actually just turned 2 yesterday, so she's 2 years old. Yeah, she had received her heart transplant at 4 months, and so she's been doing really well. That first year they say is very critical. We want to keep her away from everything and everybody, just to kind of help her immune system grow up a little bit. And so we're there now. So she's 2, and like she's thriving, and she's out here playing with her right there. Yay.
Excellent. Yeah. Ray, you were making me have flashbacks there to 27, 28 years ago, when it's pretty new there. It's scary, and sounds like you're doing all the right things though to try to keep them as inside and close to home as much as possible initially, and then you kind of are able to branch out a little bit more as time passes.
Yeah, as they get a little older and stronger. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Travis is definitely inspiration, as all these kids, and there is hope, so it's a good thing.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Did anyone else join? I'm checking my screen. I am not seeing anyone else. Anyone else?
No, not.
Right.
We got one father that's gonna be coming in late, I guess.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez.
All right, I'd heard about that. So I don't know if you guys were given the agenda, but this is really, all of us are transplant dads. And so we all kind of faced it, whether it's in the last year or two, or for some of us, 25 to 30 years ago. And so I think the purpose of this video is really for other dads that may be facing transplant with their kids or having recently gone through it, and just kind of hearing from us as to what it's like, and how we approached it. So the first question, and as Travis mentioned, we may go off script if the conversation goes there, but just kind of like to kind of talk about the dad's role in the family, during and after the transplant process. There's so many different things. You're overwhelmed when you first go into the hospital, to then you're at home and you're afraid, you don't know what you're doing. And so everybody kind of tends to jump into their own different roles. So anyone want to kind of talk about kind of where you were? Let's talk about the first, year or so first.
I'll go, I guess when
Sure.
everything first started, you always feel like left out because the mom wants to take control of everything. All the decisions, and which I don't mind, because she's real good at it, and I myself would rather work and help support the family financially, and she takes care of all that.
Yeah.
Now, but right now that he's older, I see myself getting more involved. It's been already since his first heart transplant was 23 years ago. And but little by little, I started coming in the picture, but I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it because I knew my wife was taking care of him.
So
Always.
So early on, did you know anything about the meds, or did you let your wife kind of take care of that? Or
Yeah, because my wife kind of had my wife already was in that kind of into that field. So she knew a lot about medicines and taking care of people and stuff, and I didn't. I was a police officer,
okay.
and she took control of it, and I didn't mind. I didn't mind it at all. Because
Very
up to
good.
this day, even right now, she still does it, and she's real good at it, and she can recite every medicine that he takes and at what time and what it's for and everything. I can't do none of that. I mean, some of it I can, but not like she does.
Yeah, that's I would say the way you described it there is probably the most common. The dad jumping into the provider and the mom kind of playing that, the caregiver role and
Yeah.
trying to figure out all the meds and everything. Does anyone else have a different experience? In some cases, the wife may have the job outside the family,
Yeah.
outside the home, that they have to do that. Does anybody else having to go the other direction?
Yeah.
Well,
I see.
go ahead.
Ray,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was, in the beginning, it is overwhelming for me, and my wife was always there, and like Ricardo said, that we're there just to kind of support and also provide and just kind of keep everything moving. Especially that I have my other daughters, I'm trying to keep them in the picture also, because mom can't be there. Now that Evangelina has gotten down to a lot of her medicines to like maybe just 5.
Wow.
5 medicines is something that I've been able to kind of help with. I got it down pat, whereas before she would write it on the refrigerator what it is and how much. I kind of know it by heart now because I've been stepping up and helping that. But when it was 18 medicines that she would have to take, I was overwhelmed. But 5, I feel like I can handle. It's and I just got into it maybe about 2 months ago. Like I got it, and she can feel already like, oh, thank you, I don't have to worry about it.
Very good. Well, thanks for that. Somebody else was going to say something.
Yes, it was me.
John.
Oh, John, go ahead, John.
I guess like with us, our experience was kind of different because when Mara had her transplant, she was already 16. And Mara's a very independent person. So, truth be told, she has always managed her meds. And my wife does know her medication, the whole list, the whole thing. And yes, there were many pills that she was taking initially. And and from day one, Mara pretty much took charge of her meds.
My boy.
we would tell her, well, actually, we didn't even really remind her because she had it on her watch. She had an alarm set on her watch to take them. And, every now and then, I guess, just as a parent, we would throw in, have you taken your meds? Have you taken your meds? And she'd be like, yeah. Why would you ask? So,
Well,
Yeah, you have to. You
why would
have,
you? Why would
she's-
you ask? Because numbers
yeah,
tell a story. Why would you ask if I took it or not? Because those numbers are not too good, or they're not where they should be. That's just why I'm asking. That's
and actually, her numbers were always good. Her numbers were always right on track. So yes, we knew she was taking them, but we still felt like we needed to ask her.
yeah.
So
of course.
John
yeah,
and Felix, it sounds like I guess both of yours were kidneys. Is that correct? So
Correct.
Yes.
you had probably either some type of device or maybe in today's time an app that you could actually see his or her numbers. Is that right? So that
Yes.
little different than what Ray's going through, and then what I went through, with the heart transplant and others, and as well as Ricardo. You basically you're hoping that you did the meds the right way, and you're waiting to go back to visit the doctor, 2 or 3 or 4 times a week, to have them do a blood test to tell you if it's okay. But that's an interesting very interesting kind of angle there, John, when you talk about having almost a young adult getting the transplant that's still a kid, and then they're wanting to take their responsibility, but you're trying to play that role also.
you have to.
In-
'Cause even us,
John's
Ricky.
at the age of 16, right? Your daughter had transplant.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, she was already in the teens. See, Ashley, well, us, this is from day one, from birth. So we're
Mhm.
looking at 27 years of meds, 27 years of did you take your medicines? Are you sure? Like you just said a little while ago, John.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's never ever going to be over. As
yeah,
far it is, they'll never ever be healthy. They'll be healthy as long as they take their meds. And to me, from being way back when Travis was small, to me, the trick is you take your meds at 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever is Prograf, prednisone, whatever it may be. You take them at 8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. That to me, that is the catch, because we did that with Ashley. And again, you sure you took your meds? Yes. Well, numbers will tell us. Numbers will tell us.
Joseph, I was going to ask, how was your experience early on? How old was your transplant kid?
Well, she was 2 years old when she had her transplant. I was a donor, so it was a kidney transplant. So it was kind of a struggle in the first year.
Yeah,
we didn't go nowhere.
We joined. I remember that first fall.
Yeah, and it was a good thing that Transplants for Children came and they helped us out, because we didn't know nothing about what was going on. We had to read up, we had to educate ourselves on it, what was happening.
No one ever does when you step into something like this. When it hits home, you never know what to expect.
And then now with meds, we're still on that. You take your meds, and every day I'm with that. But I'm the one who prepares her meds every day and stuff like that for the week. And
Ashley's going to be 27, and we still
on it. Yeah.
And
sometimes it's a fight to get them to take the medicine. But remember, I said, you know what? You're not gonna want to go through this all over again.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. But other than that, she's good, and she's like I said, we in the beginning it was hard, but I was a smoker at that time, cigarettes. And if I smoked one cigarette, I had to go take a shower. If I smoked 5 cigarettes, I had to take 5 showers that day before I come in the house. Now I don't smoke no more, and I quit drinking about 7 months ago. So I'm good, and I do more with Isabella, and she's good. Pain in the butt
Well,
sometimes, but it's all teenagers.
Well, let's kind of jump off of that topic and kind of, I think a couple of people mentioned it, and it's one thing that I know in particular stressed my wife was as your kids become young adults and then eventually adults. We've got a few people on the call here that have kids well into their 20s, and in our case, our child moved out to go off to college, and you've been watching their meds for 18 years, multiple times per day. So one of you guys that have the older kids, maybe Ricardo, I know, are you still overseeing the meds, or have you backed away and Ricky's kind of doing it on his own now?
For the most part, he does it on his own, but we still constantly remind him every day. I mean, it's just a habit. It's just a habit
good habit.
that parents have, that we're always asking him, we're always gonna be asking him, hey, did you take your med? Because he forgets. To this day, he still forgets. So
Hey, that's medication.
Does he live
That's
does he live at
medication.
home, Ricardo?
Sir?
Does he live at home?
yes, sir. Yeah.
He still lives there. Who
Yeah.
else was about to speak? I didn't catch who that was.
That's what. Living at home?
Yeah, Felix.
Ashley's still here at home.
About reminding
So
them. We constantly still have to be reminding them, no matter how old they get. At least with us, we're still gonna be constantly reminding him, hey, did you take your meds? Did you take your morning meds, your night meds? And
Well,
most of the
and-
time he says, yeah, I took them already. I took them. Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, that
But-
it's hard to start, being a parent, it's hard to let anything go,
Yeah.
whether it's them driving a car, they're going out on dates, or in this case,
No
are they
dates.
maintaining their meds, which is a scary thing to kind of let go of. So
And I guess like one of the things, I mean, I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit, was them going away to school. Mara got accepted to a couple out of state schools. And of course, with insurance being the way it is, I mean, she's only covered here in San Antonio because she gets hers through university. And so we kind of struggled with that, but ultimately, because she is an adult, it has to be her choice. Fortunately, she chose to stay here in town, but I mean, she was seriously looking at schools out of the state. So I don't know.
I've got to say that was one of the scariest parts. As many of you guys know, Travis left San Antonio to move to Las Vegas, and different state, not in the house, and we'd been watching his meds, in particular his mom, almost hourly, it felt like, and then all of a sudden he's got to do it on his own. So it's a hard transition, and again, this discussion is really for the people that may watch it sometime, to kind of see that, these are real struggles that you have to work through. Let's talk a little bit about, your role and your relationship. And I think I want to kind of dovetail it into something that I think Ray mentioned earlier. Ray's talking about I think you said you had one or two older kids before the transplant kid.
Yeah, so I have two older girls.
And so one of the, as we know, one of the things that's hard is, when you bring a new baby home and you've got siblings, is to not, them not getting jealous over that. Is it even harder with a transplant kid, Ray?
Well, in the beginning, we had talked to them a lot about it, about what she had and what the surgery is, and what we needed as far as a heart transplant. So they had a pretty good understanding. And so when we brought her home, they knew that, she needed to be gentle around her. And, but now they just love her. You know, they
Yeah.
love on her, and you know, we're always praying for the donor family that provided. So they're 5 and 3, so they have a pretty good understanding of Evangelina. And now Evangelina is a big sister. I have a newborn, so
Oh,
that's a
okay.
sign
Congratulations.
right here.
Yeah.
Well,
All
healthy
right.
child.
Yeah, so she is a healthy little girl. Yeah, good.
Hey, another girl, man. Good luck, Ray.
Oh, my,
Yeah.
that's great, Ray.
Two
Congratulations.
girls, man. Two girls.
Did,
Cha-ching.
did anybody else have, was the transplant kid not the oldest? Did anyone else have that situation where they brought the transplant kid home? Anybody else?
Have
Yeah, this
Andrew,
is Jesse
Andrew and
Baza.
Joshua. I have two older sons that Ashley's the last, but Joshua and Andrew, Andrew was first, and then Joshua, two healthy boys, but they pretty much understood what we were going through, not just Ashley and I and Grace, but as a family. You know, we're not putting them in the back burner because of Ashley being sick, but they were old enough to understand, which was very helpful.
And something that's also, very interesting too, because Mara is the youngest. She has older siblings. Of course, when she had hers, her sister, who was right above her, was in her second year of college. But even though she was in college, she still needed some attention. I mean, it wasn't just, the fact that she's older and she's out of school, I mean, we still needed to be there for her as well. So, and her brother, who's older than her, so that I think that worked out well, because we tried as much, my wife and I tried as much to be there still for all three, even though they were, I guess, considered adults, because I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter how old the siblings are, they still can get their, I'm not going to say feelings hurt, but I mean, they could feel neglected in some way.
Well, John, I think that's a great comment, and it kind of leads to another discussion topic that I think we'll kind of transition. You mentioned earlier, or we all mentioned a lot about watching the meds closely, and and whether you want to or not, to some degree, if it's only with the meds, you're treating the transplant kid a little different because you're having to watch that so closely. Do you feel like your relationship with your transplant child was hindered or impacted by that kind of lean in approach on medications and that oversight and whatever role you played in the family?
Me? Are you addressing me?
I was just asking you. Yeah, we were talking
Okay.
about you said you continued to monitor the meds, and
Not.
we were all talking about our roles as dads. Did that
Yeah.
you feel like that impacted your relationship with the transplant kid differently than it may have done with your other children?
Yes, because even though she was older, I mean, and I myself, I speak, I'm a little more cautious with a lot of stuff, especially like with her, meds, especially meds, and she would, her go-to line was, Dad, you can't wrap me in bubble wrap, I'm fine, uh but still, I think I was a little more, or I tried to be a little more hands-on with her,
Okay.
than I was with the other two.
Ricardo, I was going to say, you had mentioned that you went off to be the provider, and you let your wife kind of do the more domestic and the hands-on with the transplant kid. Do you feel like that, by you kind of jumping into being the provider and going to make a living to pay for insurance and all those things, did that impact things differently, do you feel like?
No, because I never really felt left out or anything, we understood each other's role.
Yeah.
My wife, she took she took charge. She took care of my son, and I let her, and I appreciate that from her.
Very good.
But I never
Well-
really felt left out or anything.
Let me pause real quick. Is that Jesse that?
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a new dad that came on.
So,
Jesse.
so Jesse, would you mind? We're just kind of talking about what it's like we're all transplant dads in different phases of life here. And so we're kind of doing this video so other dads that are facing it can watch this at some point in the future. So can you just kind of give your name and what type of transplant your child had, how long ago that was, and things like that?
Sure. My name's Jesse Baza. My son is Zachary Baza. He's 13 years old. He had a triple transplant when he was 5 months old. He had a small bowel, liver, and pancreas transplant. And again, right now he's like all boy. And for Ray's, this is for Ray, I had 4 healthy girls before my boy. So you still have some time there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, I definitely
You know what?
wanted a boy, but yeah, I'm gonna try to hold it down with these 4 girls though.
yeah.
So,
Well, I had 4 girls, and then my last was the boy. So,
Yeah.
And he's a handful ever since.
Yeah.
But every day is a blessing, and we feel blessed that we still have him around, and he's, like I said, all boy, all video games every day, always on the talking with kids. It's pretty cool. He still has a NG tube that, we've tried, over the 13 years to see if he can do without it, but I think he's the popular kid at school because of it. And so I think that's the reason why he keeps it in. But
that's it.
anyway.
Well, you may have heard just the end of this, Jesse, as you joined. We were talking about some of the dads here have their transplant kid was the oldest. That was my case. My son is Travis, that you may know from Transplants for Children, and he was my oldest child. But then I think it creates a very different dynamic when it's a second, third, fourth child, where the other children may feel like that the child with the transplant, not only are they a baby, but then they're getting this extra special treatment because mom and dad are taking them to the doctor's appointment, even though they don't know what they're missing, but nonetheless. Any thoughts there? I mean, did you feel like that you had any animosity or jealousy or anything with some of the older children that the focus that the transplant child might have been getting?
Well, they all, we've talked to all the girls, and all of them say that they didn't have animosity or any problems with that, but I kind of feel, a little differently. I think our 4th girl, the youngest girl, I think if anybody, she was the one that was kind of neglected, and I think we've had some issues with her, growing up because of it. But the good thing is she just finished high school, and I think she's adjusting okay now. But in the past, I think that's what really affected her. But I guess again, I think everybody's growing up and maturing, and it's a lot better now, I think.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that. Sorry to give you the pop quiz as soon as you join in, but I just didn't want you to miss out on the questions there. Let's talk a little bit about
one thing that I wanted to share real quick. When we first kind of got introduced to her diagnosis and everything, where everybody, I'm sure it comes into it brand new, but when you do have other kids, there are other resources. And so one of the things that we reached out or looked into was the Ronald McDonald House. And having the Ronald McDonald House allowed us to have our 2 little girls, our older girls there, keep them occupied. It was kind of like a really big, long vacation because they're just doing crafts and playing and doing things like that. And I think Ronald McDonald House helped us out a lot with our older girls to understand what's going on. So I just wanted to mention that out there too.
That's a great point. Ray, let me ask you, where did you or do you live when you were having the transplant, and where was the transplant happening? Was it different cities?
Yeah, so we live in San Antonio, and we ended up going to Houston, TCH. And so my family transferred over there. My wife was at the hospital pretty much all the time. My two other girls were at the Ronald McDonald House. I was trying to get a transfer with my job, so it wasn't there. So I was traveling back and forth every days that I had off, back and forth. And my job was able to allow me to work, 10-hour shifts and have an extra day off. And so we've been back and forth. I've been back and forth, but they were in Houston and I'm in San Antonio. So yeah.
So is he having to have follow-up care in Houston?
Yeah. So yeah, she does still does her follow-ups in Houston. So we go every 6 months or a year or however it is. But yeah.
I think that's a great thing Ray brought up. I know a few of us were blessed with that we lived in the same city where the transplant happened. Did anyone else go through that where they had to travel back and forth to a different city? I think Jesse may be nodding his head.
Yeah, our son had his transplant in Omaha, Nebraska. And Ray, you're right on with the Ronald McDonald House, because we went through our savings probably in the first 2 months. And my wife stayed there, I would say altogether almost a year before he really came home. So Ronald McDonald House was a blessing, and that kind of saved us a little bit. And we're thankful for that. Matter of fact, we go back every other year for a checkup for Zach, and we always stop in and see who's still there. So
that's great to hear. Did anyone else have that same experience from a different city?
Then Ricky had to go to Houston back and forth, right, Rick? When, Houston back and forth.
When we started here in San Antonio, we're doing the same thing, traveling from Corpus to San Antonio. And then when he had his transplant, like 5 days later, the doctor was like, I'm already gonna release him because he's already breathing on his own and everything. I was like, what? We don't even have a place to live here in San Antonio. We were staying at that time, there was a place on Fredericksburg and Callahan that was called the Hospital Welcome Lodge. And that's where we would stay. It was kind of like a Ronald McDonald House, but it was for the patients and their families. That's where we would stay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? We don't even have a place to stay, to live.
Yeah, those are great points. That's something that as a future, if you're facing transplantation with a first child, or facing transplantation for your child, you start thinking of the cost, the money, and then all of a sudden they tell you, oh, you're not even going to have your transplant in the city you live in. That's got to be at a whole nother level of
and
fear.
Also Ricky's second heart transplant was in Houston. So I was fortunate enough to transfer with my job over there. And I was working out there. And at first we were living at the Ronald McDonald House. We finally got a place to live because we ended up staying out there in Houston for 3 years. So as soon as the doctors told us, you're clear to go back home, the next day I packed up a whole Ryder truck and drove back to San Antonio and had a place already here, because we couldn't wait to get back to San Antonio.
And Travis, Ricky's dad, Ashley, compared to the new fathers I see here, they've been around a lot. They have been around, and there's help out there, but you just have to ask about it and have no shame on asking about it, because it's out there.
Yeah.
Just for the asking for these kids.
Yeah, it's great advice. Well, let's I think we touched on this a little earlier, but I just wanted to kind of come back because I didn't jump on the question at that time. But when you think about this discussion being the dad's encounter, the dad's how we felt or how the kids felt or whatever about the dad role versus the moms. Anything come to mind to anybody of how this impacts dads differently than moms?
You,
Well,
you
in
know,
my case,
sometimes when things are not going right, they say things that are not right. But just keep in mind that's the meds talking too. You know, they may say something that might discourage yourself, but you know, sometimes if it's the meds that are doing the talking, it's not coming from the child, if you will. You know, it's taking the Prograf, taking the prednisone, whatever other type of meds for a period of time. You know, it's I won't say that meds are taking over, but you know, it's some of the meds that make Ashley, if you will, talk the way she had been a while back. You know, and you got to keep in mind it's the meds. It's not her. It's the medication that him or her has been taking a while. You know, and most likely, all the dads that I see here, those two meds, they might be taking them for the longest time. So, you know, just keep in mind that there is a reaction on some of these meds, whether it's the anti-rejection or the Prograf, the prednisone, but there's meds that gives the kids, I'll just say a foul mouth sometimes, but just keep in mind that it's the meds.
that
a
could be the
great point.
case. That could be the case too, but also I think like and as far as in my life, the thing is my son wasn't used to seeing me a lot because I was always out working 2 or 3 jobs. So I was hardly ever home.
Yeah,
So
Ricardo,
a
I
lot
was
of
going to
times
say
they
that
don't,
that
they
that
don't,
that was what I was gonna. That's one piece I was wondering if anyone felt left out because you know the wife and maybe maybe your sister, maybe your mom, other relatives are at the hospital all the time, but you're out having to make some money to raise the family and continue to support it. That had to be a tough thing. I know you mentioned that earlier,
and
Ricardo.
then for me it was even harder because we had nobody. There was no other siblings. There was nobody. No, my wife didn't have family here. I didn't have family here in San Antonio. It was just us 3.
Yeah, and that's
Did
when
anybody? Oh, go ahead.
transplants for children way back.
Oh yeah,
I remember you coming.
I think we're the oldest family that's been associated with transplants for children
Yep, yep,
for 23 and a half years.
yeah, pretty
We've been
much.
associated with them,
Yeah, we go way
and
back
they've
when
helped us
Robbie
out
was
a lot.
when Travis was a little young man. When
That's
Travis
why,
was small,
yeah.
we go way back. Yeah,
That's why now we try and give a lot more back to transplants for children because they've helped us a
yeah,
lot too.
yeah.
So
Especially when with the STARS program. Now Ashley's a mentor, like your son, and they're telling kids that don't know what to expect. This is what you can expect. Look at me. Look at
yeah,
Ricky. Look at Travis. You know, the
there
new
is hope.
dads. Yeah, with the new dads,
There's
there's a
hope.
couple of
There's a
gentlemen here
future.
that I
Yeah,
don't know, but for the new dads, that's
there's help out
we're good.
there. And whatever
Yep.
y'all need, all
Yeah.
you gotta do is ask us.
Yeah.
Even
Us.
us fathers.
Yeah. The ones that the old geezers, so to speak.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
well, we've got a couple more topics to hit before we finish up. And I think this one we actually have touched on quite a bit. But this, we talked about advice to fathers of transplant kids. I've heard, Ronald McDonald House. I've heard reach out to STARS and Transplants for Children. Ask, raise your hand. Anything else come to mind that new dad that either just their kid just got a transplant or is about to have one, what they should know?
I guess the best advice that I can give a new dad is to not give up and don't think that the wife is neglecting you because she's totally focusing on your child's health and keeping them safe and healthy. So don't think that the avoidance is coming from her. It's because of what she's doing to the child, and that's how I see it. That's why I
and all
say my wife,
and
I
all,
give her all the props because she's up to this day, she's still taking care of him like a baby, you
yep,
know, and
they'll
that's
always be
never
your
gonna
baby,
stop. Yeah,
but it's be
but
like
just don't I guess what I want to say is to the dads, don't give up hope. Just think about your wife taking care of your child. Don't be
Appreciate her.
selfish. Don't be selfish and start
Appreciate her more.
arguing and all that because
But
it's not our fault.
Also,
Yeah.
Ricky, you know, like they say on everything else, it takes two. So you've
Yeah.
got to help. You've got to do your part too. Not just
Yeah.
but it takes two. You know,
Yeah.
on all
Yeah.
this. You know,
Yeah,
and
Vanessa
then
was like that también. Vanessa, in the beginning, when I was like that, she would be overwhelmed. I'd come home from work, take a shower. I started making dinner. Make dinner. She's taking care of the baby and all that, and getting her ready to be hooked up to the machine at night.
yep,
They're making dinner, washing dishes, and same routine. But
tell
it was all worth it, you know.
The team effort. Yeah.
Yeah, she appreciated
of
me
course,
more.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it's got to be worth it. It's your
Yeah.
child. You know?
yeah.
You know, some of the, like I said, Ricky and I and Travis, we've been there quite some time, and I have seen some of these fathers just get up and leave the mom and the kid there to worry about it yourself. But like I said, you know, it takes two.
I
And just
think,
like
you
they
know,
say, just
oh,
like
go
they
ahead.
say, it's not you're not dealing with like a mile. It's a marathon. The things is gonna be forever for a long,
Yes,
long time.
exactly.
You're gonna have to
Long-
deal with it. So,
Like I
hey,
said,
I think one thing that dads watching this someday can pick up on is definitely, you know, several of you guys on this call know each other, and you can tell that you've leaned on each other over the years. So I think that's a big takeaway, is to find someone, find an organization, whether it's Transplants for Children and STARS or Ronald McDonald
Yeah.
House, or just other dads going through the same thing.
or if it's dad to dad, call dad to dad. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
And we're gonna have other events where the dads are gonna be involved, so we can have some dad time, for us.
And make a fishing trip.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
Go bowling, algo.
We have some things in mind already, so
The last thing we wanted to do is there any other, is there any big event going on in your lives? Is there anything happening that you'd like to share with the dads that may watch this? Does anything come to mind?
Yes, is back.
to me, when Ricky started getting older, we started going out hunting more, and we even went to Canada. They invited us to a hunt in Canada last year in Thanksgiving, and he shot a deer out there. They even sent us the shoulder mount and everything. So that's how we started bonding more, going out more. And then he was of age too, so he started drinking. So we do that too sometimes. But I do it more than him though. But things like that, that are now. I remember when he was little. I was always wanting to be going out, and my wife was like, "No, just wait till he gets older, then he'll be able to go with us and everything." And we would fight about that, and all that. And then now, when he turned 21, he was out with us, and I was like, "Man, honey, you were right." I just couldn't wait. I was out there, but now it's all good. Now we have a good relationship.
Say Ricky, I've got that one picture. This goes to show you how far back we go, where he's sitting on that little Jeep that made the newspaper.
Oh,
you remember
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was good. That's going to be a picture to be shown to everybody when he gets married.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be one of those relationship pictures. Yeah.
Anything else from anyone? Anything else? A question that I didn't ask that you think dad's going through what we've all gone through that we haven't covered?
I think for myself, being young, when I found out that she was going to need a heart transplant, or she had her condition, I was looking at it as, not a lot of kids go through this, but there are some. So I felt like God allowed it to happen. So for the new step up, and I'm proud to say that I have a heart transplant baby, because that's very rare to happen, or you don't meet too many folks who know somebody that has that, but we are those fathers and those parents. So I feel proud. And so, you know, whatever I needed to do, whether driving back and forth or just, you know, staying to work to have the insurance for my child, and just being there for the younger kids, if you have kids, to just don't shut them out and just play with them and do things. And there will be a time where everything, when they get bigger and older, there would be a time where we can all go out and, you know, have a good time. But it's a journey, and that first few
Yes.
years is rough. And,
And-
you know,
and-
like, yep. That's why I want to
Right.
mention,
Time.
like, just feel proud and take care and do whatever you have to do as a new parent.
You know, like Ray just said, it's a journey. It's a journey. The man upstairs put us through this for a reason.
Exactly.
What reason, we don't know, but it's for a reason. And he's testing all of us, and all of us, your child is
plan.
alive, my
God's
daughter's
plan.
alive. You know, there's a reason we're going through this. And in my words of closing, there's a reason. And the man upstairs is put us through it, through not just us, but everybody that has a medical problem. There's a reason for it. Very much.
All right, well, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight and sharing all these experiences. I wish I had the opportunity to have watched this video 29 years ago or 28 years ago before we were going through it. It would have sure helped me up back in those days.
Ricky and I would have looked a lot younger, right, Ricky?
Yeah,
We all would have.
yeah.
Well, thanks again for everybody. Happy Father's Day.